Hey, what's up, Internet? Welcome to A Cast for Crows, our Game of Thrones inspired podcast via deadscreen.net. It's incredible to believe, but we are already at the end of Season 7. So this week we're going to discuss the finale called The Dragon and the Wolf. I am Bran Stark's lost personality, but you can call me Joe.
I'm a dead Littlefinger, or Drew.
I'm an ice dragon or Alexa.
Yeah, but was it an ice dragon?
We'll get into that.
Alright.
Nice
So-
segue.
Hold on, I'm starting with my brain. This episode
Words.
had one of the coolest scenes I think the series has had, which was the King's Landing meeting, just because the number of principal actors that were in the same area. It was basically everybody alive that we care about, for the most part. Who
Except
wasn't?
for the Starks.
Yeah, I mean, there was a Starks, there was a couple people up in Eastwatch, and there was Gendry wherever he is. But other than that,
Yeah, where is Gendry?
who cares?
I have to agree. Who cares?
I just thought it was really interesting to have him there, and I thought it was very well done in terms of how kind of tense and awkward it was. Like, it was awkward, but an effective, interesting awkward. So I was all about it. I thought it, from just a pure execution standpoint, it was very well done.
Yeah. I loved how Daenerys just came in on her dragon and Cersei was like, okay.
Yeah, and I mean, they referenced this a little later in the episode. Like, it was definitely a power play by her
Oh,
to fly
absolutely.
in with 2 dragons, but she gave away a hand by flying in with just 2 dragons.
Yeah.
And so that was sort of dumb on her. She should have just flown in with 1, because if you fly in with 1, it's still like, yo, you see this giant ass dragon here? Like, it's gonna fuck you up. But by flying in with the 2, she did give away a big, like, she gave Cersei definitely some ammunition in terms of knowing that she's down a dragon.
Yeah, I
I
really
agree.
enjoyed the interactions beforehand, like as they're walking to the pit, like Brienne and the
Yeah.
Hound and Tyrion and Podrick, like characters who hadn't been together for
Yeah.
several
Oh, okay.
seasons. It was cool seeing them kind of reconnect in that way.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen like this nicer, for lack of a better word, Hound for a while, but if you really go back and think about how he was for the first 5 seasons or so, like, he was an angry dickhead. And the fact that, you know, he and Brienne sort of had that nice little moment, and, you know, he found out Arya was still alive and kicking, and sort of like kicking ass and stuff, and he had that just little bit of a smile, I thought was a big moment for his character, but just fun for the show in general, because, you know, kicking back to the Arya and Hound show, like, I loved that storyline. That was still one of my favorites of the whole series.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying, but I disagree that the Hound has been, like, a giant, horrible person for, like, the past 5 seasons or whatever. I think the moment that he, like, protected Sansa from, like, getting assaulted or something was a big move for him, and then just the whole thing with Arya humanized him way more.
Yeah,
But like, yeah, he did suck at the very, very beginning.
yeah, that's sort of been
But-
part of his story arc, is he was this big, uncaring kind of monster for the most part, and now he's, you know, each season he's progressed, he's softened up more and more.
Yeah, it was really nice to see him smile and all that, because I
Yeah.
think that's the first time we've ever seen him smile.
Yeah, he's still one of my top favorite characters.
Yeah, he's
You know,
great.
I think he's very well acted and a very interesting character. I wasn't a huge fan of the Hound and the Mountain sort of like fan service, you know, upcoming match advertisement, for lack of a better word. Like, I don't have all this need, like, it doesn't affect me as much as it does long-term fans and stuff. I'm sure it was a bigger
I
deal.
think it's like a big theory that that's going to happen, like, according to book readers. I know it's called Clegane Bowl. That's all I know.
Right.
But I know that it's like a big thing for, I think, book readers.
Yeah, and it would be one thing if it just sort of happened naturally, but it felt very There's been a couple of things this season that have felt very, like, kind of fan servicey, and that was, I feel like, the most. It was like, I'm gonna fight you at some point later, but not just right now. I'm just like, okay, dude, whatever.
You just pull out their guns and it's like a duel from the Wild West.
What I've always wondered about those two is the Mountain has changed so much since he like nearly died and Qyburn experimented on him. How much does he even recognize his brother at this point?
Yeah,
like
I don't even know.
we don't seem to have any idea, and that kind of like it didn't downplay that scene for me, but I was just kind of found myself wondering like this is very important to the Hound, but is it super important to the Mountain anymore? I'm not sure.
I feel like the Mountain is just kind of like some mindless like weapon at this point. So
Yeah.
yeah, I kind of felt that way too, and I think like the Mountain. I mean, not that we can really see his facial expressions, but I feel like he just kind of like, what's going on?
That's true. But speaking of like the Hound and his, kind of softening a little bit, you guys are right. But where the show has handled him so well is that he's always retained what makes him classic Hound. Because like, while we had the nice interaction with Brienne, there was also that moment where the guy right behind him said, "Hey, what's in the crate?" And he just turns around and goes, "Fuck off."
Yeah.
And that's like it. I'm like, and that's what I love about that character. They've always kept him true to himself while still making him a little bit softer, a little more caring, a little more likable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, shall we move on to the actual meeting with Cersei and unveiling the light?
Yeah. Sure.
Andy, did you feel like it was worth going beyond the wall and giving the Night King a dragon to bring this light to Cersei Lannister?
Dude, it's just it was the dumbest plan, and I'm actually pretty annoyed that it almost worked. Like, you knew that she was sort of scheming, that she let on that, but like that plan almost worked for as dumb as it was.
Until Jon's idiocy again, when he told the truth about not being able to stay out of the war.
Everybody in this show has just gotten real dumb this season. They've just lost a bunch of IQ points for some reason. I mean, the scene itself was pretty exciting and interesting. It felt a little bit like a science experiment, which seemed a little interesting to me, but I mean, it did what it, in their eyes, it did what it was intended to do. Showed her that it was real, showed her that it was a problem. I mean, it convinced Jaime, did it not?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it did, for the most part, do what it was intending to do, but it was such a dumb plan. You're not net positive at all in that.
I don't think it was worth losing a dragon.
No, not at all. You lose a dragon, and you technically aren't even gaining any. You gained Jaime. You gained one person out of it.
Yeah. I don't know, and I felt like for a while Cersei's been slowly losing Jaime.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
I don't even think
she felt like she was losing him all season, and then with the baby or no baby, I felt like she was pulling him back in pretty hard. But this whole their relationship is sort of scrapped at this point. You have to feel right, like the whole scene with
oh
yeah,
yes,
they're kind of done. Like from what I understood, it looked like at the end of the episode he was just getting on his horse and going north to meet up with them to do what he could do. And so it seems like they're done. That the Jaime and Cersei scene I thought was probably one of the best parts of the whole episode. It was the first time in a while that I was actually very nervous for a character, and even then I wasn't super nervous.
I got super nervous.
Oh, I was nervous.
I was so nervous.
It was
I was like, no.
Yeah, it was for sure the most nervous I've been for a character that I cared about in a bunch of episodes, I feel like.
I think, just in doing that, though, I think Cersei has sealed her fate.
Oh, yeah.
I've been super convinced that Jaime is the Valonqar because I think Tyrion is way too obvious. That ends up killing her. So I think in doing that, she totally lost Jaime, and there's nothing really stopping him from killing her if and when she becomes way too psycho, which we already know is definitely going to happen.
Right.
Something that was interesting about Cersei's interactions with both of her brothers is that they both said something along the lines of, if you're going to kill me, go ahead and get it over with. And yet she didn't do it either time. like with Jaime, she seemed to almost give the order, like the mountain drew his sword and all that. But I just thought it was interesting that happened with both her brothers in the same episode, but she didn't pull the trigger either time.
Yeah, I was more surprised about Tyrion, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, I thought she would have killed him.
I feel like it was sort of symbolic of how crazy she's gotten up to that point. Like, she keeps saying that, you know, you can only do it. It's all that's left is family, and, you know, that's all she's fighting for is family, basically. But she's 2 family members left, and both of them are like, listen, you're crazy. If you're going to kill me, just sort of do it. Like, they don't see her as a sane, normal, functional person anymore.
I guess talking about Tyrion and Cersei, do you guys feel like there have been a couple hints that maybe Tyrion's going to change sides?
I've seen people talking about it, that they, like when Tyrion was looking upset about Jon and Dany banging, there were some people who seemed to think that meant like Tyrion struck some kind of deal with Cersei, like off screen. Mm-hmm. But I'm not sure why or what the deal would be. But what do you think?
Yeah, see, I'm just confused because, or not necessarily confused, it makes sense, but it seems like to him family's still the most important thing. And so it's weird that he's been with Daenerys this whole time. But yeah, like I feel like there have been a couple little indications. Still, like clearly Jaime's still one of the most important people in the world to him, as we saw in like episode 4 with the dragon. And I don't know, the fact that he was saying to Cersei like, you know, it's still super important to me to be in like a Lannister was a weird indication. And I don't really know about the whole Tyrion upset with Dany and Jon, but I guess we'll get into that later.
Yeah, I feel like there were a couple little things. Like, I didn't feel like he was going to switch sides, but more of he didn't want to, like, obliterate them, I guess.
Yeah.
But this episode was the first time that I kind of felt maybe he has like a different plan, and he might try to strike something. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if they talked about something else that they just didn't show us. And for the sake of, like, I do like him as a character a lot, but if he somehow switched sides and betrayed Daenerys and Jon and all them, I would be all for it, just in terms of the chaos that would create, because that is a move that old Game of Thrones would do that new Game of Thrones wouldn't do. So if that's something that they do, I'm 100% for it, just because, like, I mean, we've said this before, but Game of Thrones, I felt, would take a path and get it almost nice and cleaned up, and then sort of like break it apart in the most inconvenient way possible. Mm-hmm. And I feel like this is just a great continuation of that. It's almost all wrapped up in just the way it needs to be, and then this would just fuck everything up even more. So I hope that's, like, I'm all for that. I hope that it's true. And, like, it would make sense. I thought the scene of him sort of standing in the boat with that door, watching them bang behind the door, basically, like, I had no idea what was going on there. I was like, why is he standing there? Like, this is super kind of out of character and bizarre. So that would make that a little more sense if he sort of has a little bit of remorse, but he knows, you know, because he knows he has this extra deal or knows something else is bad is going to happen or something. That would bring a little more logic to that scene. Otherwise, it seems very out of place and kind of bizarre.
Yeah, so my take is also, like, we didn't see what he said to make Cersei come back.
Right.
But she came back. So he had to have said something that she liked.
Right.
So,
yeah, I mean, I hope that's the case. And I thought it was kind of bizarre that she came back and she was very much, okay, you know, I believe you guys, you know, we'll do this and this and this. I'm helping. Remember that I helped. And everybody was like, okay, cool, great, yeah, bye. Seemed very out of character for all of those people to me.
Yeah.
Could it have something to do with the unborn child?
I mean,
honestly, I don't even know if she's pregnant.
Yeah, I still necessarily don't believe that. If her motive was true, like, I feel like that's a point to it, but I don't even, like, it's all a show, isn't it? Didn't we learn that in the episode? It's all, you know, she's just going to sort of deal with it till her Golden Army or whatever it's called gets there, and then she's going to
Company
mess them up.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, she could very well be pregnant. I think that if she is pregnant, it just kind of means she's gonna die. But yeah, I mean, it is all a show. So I don't know how much is real. I don't know how much she's using to manipulate Jamie. Obviously, it didn't work. But I don't know. There could also have been a manipulation tactic with Tyrion to kind of like do the Beyonce like belly rub to. I don't know. I think she's like aware that family is still super important to him. So it's possible that if this were a show for Jamie, it would also be a show for Tyrion's benefit.
Right. So, in terms of being back at Winterfell, I feel like I need a little bit of help.
Okay.
I understand what happened there, but I feel like the scene either last episode or the episode before with Sansa and Arya makes like so much less sense. Like I don't get that scene anymore.
That's exactly what I thought, and it felt like we discussed it last week. Like, are they really at odds? Have they gone this far, or is it all some sort of like really elaborate ruse against Littlefinger? And I agree. What happened this week makes last week make less sense than before, but it's the only conclusion I could really come to is it's just the showrunner's way of saying, "Haha, we fooled you."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. See, I don't know. To me, it just kind of seems like Arya was testing Sansa, and now that she sees that Sansa is like not horrible, they teamed up together. So it did not make sense to me. But I guess it could also just be the showrunner screwing with it.
I mean, it seemed very aggressive. Like the whole scene with the knife and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I do think it was aggressive, but I think it, like, I was never really scared for their relationship.
No,
to be honest.
I mean, I wasn't scared for either of them. It just felt like that wasn't true to either of their characters almost. And if they had showed even a little scene of like Littlefinger like hiding in the closet or under the, knowing that he was watching or gonna get the info back,
or Bran explaining stuff to them.
Right, like it would have made a little more sense. But I just felt like I thought the reveal in that room was fantastic. I thought that the guy playing Littlefinger did a great job. It was fun to sort of watch him try to talk his way out of it and then basically give up and start whining about it. I thought Arya as the executioner was very well done, sort of mimicking...
With his own knife.
Yeah, sort of mimicking the way that, just a nice clean cut across the throat, like the way their mother was killed, I thought was well done. I thought that whole scene was great. But it makes some of the prior scenes between the two a little, like...
Did you guys figure out that it was Littlefinger? Because I figured it out pretty quickly that wasn't them killing each other. I figured out, like, once I saw Littlefinger in the room, I assumed it was about Littlefinger.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, it took... I didn't know until she said it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But that was... I just think that that whole storyline was handled slightly odd to me.
Yeah, I agree it was out of character for them, but ultimately for this particular episode, I thought it was a hugely satisfying ending, well acted. I felt like all of them came back to their true characters, and so it was very satisfying.
Yeah, I think it was seeing Bran with Sansa that kind of made me not worry for Arya, because I don't think he would have killed one of his sisters.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, I mean, I do think it all kind of helped them get back to themselves. I think it was great that Sansa was like, "Thank you for everything you've taught me. Now you're gonna die."
Yeah.
The only thing I'm curious about is why didn't Littlefinger think to invoke trial by combat? Because if he had done that by law, they could have... We could have at least tried. I mean, the man, he's dead anyway.
I thought that's what he was going to do when he went up to the guy from the Vale.
That's, yeah.
But honestly, I honestly just think that everyone hates him, and he realized that and wasn't even going to risk it.
Is it something that would have only worked in certain parts of Westeros, or does that basically work anywhere?
I think it works anywhere.
it's
seems like
supposed to work
such a
anywhere, but you look
cop-out.
at certain characters with a lack of like honor. But if you remember, Tyrion was allowed to do it up in the Vale back in I think season 1. So I was just surprised that he didn't at least like try to invoke it. Like, you're right, I agree. No one probably would have stood up for him, but hey, you're about to die anyway. Why not? Take a shot.
I think he just kind of knew that there was nothing he could do other than beg and hope that Sansa would care about him, but like clearly she didn't. I mean, I figured kind of too late because I didn't put him in my death pool, but I figured kind of early on that he was probably gonna die. So I don't know. I think this is like the first time we saw him not ahead of the game.
Yeah, I mean, he had an interesting arc over this season because at the beginning of the season, he didn't feel useful at all. Like, he felt like he didn't know what was going on. And over the last couple episodes, it's like he got his footing and he's like, okay, I'm going to play them against each other and then sort of, rule through Sansa and I'll be good there. And so it was nice to sort of finally get him to, have him get his comeuppance and stuff.
And having Bran actually reveal everything that he did,
so
even from the
good.
very beginning of the story, that was something I'd been waiting for the entire show, and I'm glad it came out that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was great. It was just so good. I just love when Bran was like, I told you not to trust me.
Yeah.
I'm glad that he was less of a wheelchair robot this episode and actually served a big purpose. And, we got a little bit of the flashbacks and stuff.
Yeah, see, I think it's Bran just slowly getting his footing and beginning to understand everything that he's seeing. And that's why he's kind of becoming less of a robot. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, I think it was just great. I mean, do we want to just talk about the next Bran scene right now?
Yeah. I'm glad Sam showed up. He kind of had a weak season overall. But it's nice to sort of see him be like, all right, well, I tried to do the book thing. It's not going to work. I'm going to come back and fight. And it was interesting to I feel like Bran was like, look, I can see everything past and present. And so...
I
have no idea what that means.
I just love Sam being like, oh, okay. What?
And then he's like, I see everything past and present. Jon is actually a sand, not a snow. And he's like, well, no, they got married. And he was like, oh, really?
What?
It's like, show me the source. So I just thought that was a little bit humorous. But yeah,
I was glad to see Rhaegar, but I think I was a little bit disappointed.
But yeah, that's why at first I thought they weren't going to show him and they were just going to sort of hint at him.
Yeah,
but
me too.
He looked really similar to whatever
Viserys.
Yeah, he looked way too similar to him. Like, he needed longer hair or something because they...
I pictured him with like a long mane and like, I mean, I guess it would make sense that he would look like his brother if they're brothers.
Yeah, but they
it was, no. Like, my cousin was like, no, that's Viserys. And I'm like, why would it be Viserys? That doesn't make sense. Yeah. And Joe thought it was the same actor, so... but it's not. They're just both Welsh, and I guess Welshmen all look the same.
It was a little...
We're sorry, Wales. If anyone's listening from Wales, we're sorry.
But they do look very similar. I did show Joe like a side-by-side, and they do look very similar. But yeah, I mean, it is kind of scary how similar they looked, because it kind of just invokes this like negative emotion. Mm-hmm. At least I felt that way, because that's how you picture Viserys. But then you're seeing this like sweet marriage moment, and you're like, wait, but you look like the evil bastard.
I need a little bit of help. They did a very good job of like really wrapping up and spelling it out and holding your hand, walking you through sort of what Littlefinger did, what this means. But I felt like his whole name reveal was supposed to be a big moment, and I don't...
It was dumb.
I don't get it.
Okay, so here's my theory, because Rhaegar already had a kid named Aegon, so I think that's dumb. But I think that it's possible that for whatever reason, Rhaegar, since he seemed to know quite a bit about the prince who was promised prophecy, maybe somehow was given the indication that the prince who was promised would be named Aegon, and so he tried giving Jon a chance. That's the only thing that makes sense to me logically.
Is it?
And so he just kind of tried naming all his guys Aegon to make sure that they were the prince who was promised.
Is it show canon that he had another Aegon kid?
I think it's been mentioned.
Yeah, his first 2 children were Aegon and a little girl named Rhaenys.
Yeah.
But that seemed absolutely ridiculous to me because I looked it up in the history book. No two Targaryens in the same generation ever had the same name. So
Yeah,
it just,
I honestly think it's my theory, and that's literally the only thing that makes sense to me.
Whatever the reason is, I think it's dumb to name 2 kids like what if all 3 kids had lived? Aegon, time for dinner.
Yeah.
Aegon, come here. No, not you.
I mean,
The
like,
Jon
maybe it, like, he didn't know, and she just named him that because that's a strong Targaryen name. But yeah, I mean, it was dumb.
Can we also
Like,
talk
would be
about
like
how we were
Aegon and
told-
Aegon Jr. Yes! I swear I thought his name was Jaehaerys. Maybe my lip reading sucks, but it looked like she said Jaehaerys.
Nope, she did not say Aegon last season. I guarantee that.
No,
I guarantee
yeah.
they filmed 2 different scenes where she said 2 different names.
It was definitely a J name. Like, it was not Aegon.
I feel
Yeah.
like that was supposed to be like a big moment reveal, but as a semi-advanced show watcher, I was like, okay, like,
Well, I
big
also
deal.
think maybe they were just kind of, like, expressing why they dropped the Aegon, like, maybe Aegon storyline of, like, this dude who shows up and is like, hey, I'm
Yeah.
Aegon Targaryen. So, like, maybe they were just, like, kind of referencing that and kind of being like, we dropped this, but, like, hey, here's another Aegon Targaryen. Like, I don't really know. Honestly, like, I am convinced that my theory is correct because I just don't understand why he would do that.
The funny thing is, like, it's been rumored for a long, long time that the original Aegon is still alive, but that it's not that kid that we've talked about. And people have even theorized that Jon somehow is, like, that firstborn child, because no one who's alive saw him born or anything. At least that we know of. But
so they would think that he's Elia's kid, or just that... That theory seems weird.
Yeah, there's a rumor that there's several different characters that are, like, legitimately the first Aegon, and Jon's been one name that's been talked about, unlikely as it is, but it just bugs me so much that, like, it's fine if you want to troll us, but naming 2 kids with the same name just, there's just, I don't know.
Otherwise,
that just
I
doesn't
liked
seem like a
the
thing
whole
to do in this
flashback.
show.
But yeah, I like the rest of the flashback. I think it was... I mean, I don't think that I needed it, but I feel like some people, which I don't understand why, but I guess some people just don't pay attention to the details, weren't aware that it was Rhaegar, and this was like the final confirmation that it was like Rhaegar. And we saw that he's not a bastard, even though we already heard that. But I guess it was like fully confirming it, since it could have just been some other random Prince Rhaegar.
It may have just been fan service, but I remember you guys asked me at the end of last season, one of you said, Joe, do you think we'll see any new characters this season, or is this it? And I said, I bet you we'll see Rhaegar Targaryen through a brand flashback, but otherwise no one else. Just because I thought it would be fan service to mostly book readers. And so, like, I wasn't...
I mean,
super
I wanted
surprised
to
about
see
that.
Rhaegar, but he wasn't the perfect specimen of a man. He just looked like Viserys. Who, I mean, I guess is attractive, but still.
Stick to the photos. Stick to the photos and Google Images.
Yeah, dude. I was expecting a much longer, like, mane and looking all majestic, and
Like,
he literally
almost like a
was
elf.
Viserys. Almost like a what?
like an elf.
Like a
Well,
Legolas.
Yeah.
Yeah, something similar to a Legolas, yes.
That's kind of, yeah, it is what I pictured. So, I don't, the same exact hairstyle. Dude, what? Like, was
It's literally
Viserys just trying to
Viserys'
replicate...
hairstyle.
I wonder if it was just, like, Viserys trying to replicate this hairstyle or something. And trying to just be Rhaegar. Because they look exactly the same. I don't know, man. It was weird. I don't know.
But yeah, overall, I did love the Bran and Sam scene. And I also love
Yeah,
the
it was
moment
nice.
where
Although,
Bran says, "Oh, John's on his way back to Winterfell right now," and Sam said, "Oh,
yeah,
you
that
saw
was great.
that?" And then he just holds up the letter. Oh,
Can we also just briefly mention the fact that it was kind of weird that we're hearing about Jon's parentage as Daenerys and Jon are having sex over the narration? Because that's like,
shoving the incest literally in our faces.
yeah, like, I am fine with this incest. Don't make it a big deal.
I mean, it was funny in season 1, the incest between Jaime and Cersei was like the big thing. And now it's like everybody's like, yeah, incest.
Okay, but thing is, I think in this world it wouldn't have been deemed weird, and like that wouldn't have been deemed weird in medieval England, which is what this is like kind of based off of, because it's not like direct family, even though I mean it's not that far off. Like aunt and nephew wouldn't have been as weird. Like Sansa was supposed to marry her cousin at one point, so like that's why I'm cool with it. And that's why I think Jaime and Cersei are gross, because they're literally twin brother and sister.
And that's one of the great things about Game of Thrones that sets it apart from other TV shows, is that it makes us as viewers cheer for things that we wouldn't normally cheer for, and it makes us against things that maybe we wouldn't normally be against. Like, it's not just sexual either. Like, you look at, like, every time Arya makes a kill, a teenage girl has become a murderer. And yet,
you're like, yeah!
we're cheering it. We're cheering
Mass
it.
murder!
Like, would we do that in real life? Hell no. Well, probably not. And but that's what's so great about Game of Thrones.
If that
is
bastard had
puts
killed my entire family, I'd be fine with it. So
That's what's great about the show, though, is it puts us in these positions, and like that we
that are
wouldn't
morally
normally
questionable.
be in. Yeah, very morally questionable.
But yeah, I
that's the fun of
seriously
it.
have no problem, and I'm totally team Daenerys, I think is like the couple name they've come up with. I'm so about it. I've been about it since before I knew they were related, and then
It should be
I was
Dawn.
like, oh, shut up, Andy. But I don't know. I was like, before I even knew about R plus L equals J, I was like, oh, they need to end up together. They're like, they'd be so perfect. And my cousin was like, I don't know. And now that we're seeing this like blossom, because I did find it kind of weird. But I was like, okay, never mind, that's not gonna happen. But now that we've seen it blossom, I love it. I'm about it.
I'm opposite. I'm anti about it. Because
Really?
it's setting up for the worst possible ending, I think, where they get married and then they both
I don't think.
They
I disagree.
I
bow
don't
rule,
think that.
and it will be terrible, and I hate it.
I don't think that at all. I think they're gonna get married. I think she's probably pregnant now, because I think there's been a lot of indications that she's like, oh, I can't get pregnant. And
Oh
it's
yeah.
like, a witch
Listen,
told you that who killed your husband.
all
What do you think?
It's giving us an easy access point to a happy ending.
But I don't think that, and I can explain why. I think I've explained it before. But back in the day, when Azor Ahai, which I still am pretty sure that Jon was the prince who was promised, and if that's the case, then it could totally end in the way I'm thinking. Azor Ahai had to kill his wife to make the sword Lightbringer work, and I totally think it's possible that Jon's gonna be put in the exact same situation and he's gonna have to kill Daenerys. In which case, I don't think it's gonna end all happy.
Yeah, but it might not end happy, but if he kills her and she has a kid, then he and the kid can be sitting on the throne at the end. Like, I just think it gives us too many options to have a semi-happy ending, and I want no happy ending.
I'm not on your team in that. I don't want things to end horribly dark and miserable.
Yes, that's what I want.
But I'm sorry that, I don't know. I mean, it very well may not happen. We've been indicated on the show a lot of times. If you think this is going to end happily, then you're not paying attention. So, it very well could end very unhappily.
Good.
And how many times have romances actually ended happily throughout
Never!
the course of this
Never!
show?
Grey Worm.
Grey Worm's probably going to die.
Yeah, but it's been happy so far.
That's not ending happily, though.
You talk about how they're setting themselves up for a possible happy ending, and you're right. But I also think they're setting themselves up for some
Dark shit.
major
Listen,
shit hitting the fan potentially.
That's
They
what
could
I
go.
I think
They
it's
could
also-
go either way.
I hope.
Well, I think also the revelation that Jon is actually the heir to the throne and not Daenerys is not going to end things happily. I think there's going to be a lot of conflict once that comes out.
Yeah, but if Jon is sitting at the throne at the end, that's still like a pseudo-happy ending. It doesn't matter how he gets there.
Well, I think romantically it's not going to end as happily
Oh,
as
I
we're
don't care.
led to believe at this point.
I don't know. I don't know. Show's been a
It's
little...
possible. I mean,
Been a little
hello.
safe lately.
Just going into it, Ice Dragon. Things are not looking good for them with that Ice Dragon tearing down the wall, which I'm very happy I figured out that the wall was going to end, or was going to fall at the end of the season. I've been saying for a while, so I'm proud of myself. For once, my theory wasn't a crackpot.
So,
What did the
Tormund?
dragon breathe? Was
Yeah.
it fire?
That was that was definitely ice.
No.
It's not blue fire. Why would they have something that could kill them? I don't think it would make
Yeah, but
sense for the
it
Night
didn't
Kings to
look
be like,
ice.
I'm gonna...
It looked like...
Well-
I thought it was just like magic. Like, I thought it was
Well, I don't
breathing
think it was
magic.
gonna look like just ice, like it has to look somewhat mystical, but like I don't think
Yeah,
like maybe the fact that it's ice is mystical in and of itself because it's not natural for a dragon to breathe
but
ice.
the dragon that breathes fire breathes such obvious fire. Like, you almost see the little glands that the fire comes out of.
But there's nothing obvious about what this is. I think it's ice. I think it would be stupid of them to have
I
something
think
that
it's
could
just
potentially kill them.
I don't think it's blue fire. I think you're right. I think that's like, hey, I'm allergic to water and I'm gonna swim and I'm gonna ride water.
You had to choose water as a thing you're allergic to.
Yeah.
It couldn't be like, I'm not gonna swim in peanut butter.
Yeah. I mean, you get what I'm saying. Like, it doesn't make... If that was it, it's like... the risk is almost not worth the reward at a certain point.
I think it was ice, though. I think I saw, like, shards of ice.
I just think it was,
wasn't
like,
super
straight...
obvious.
I think it was straight magic. It was breathing blue magic.
I disagree, but we can agree to disagree.
Whatever, the wall came down, and...
Yeah, exactly. That's the point.
Finally.
Are Tormund and Beric still alive?
Yes.
I don't-
Of course they are. Are you
I
kidding
need
me?
them to
They're
not be.
100% alive. I'll bet you both $100 right now.
I don't want to make that
I'm not
bet.
Yeah.
gonna take it.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm not going to make that bet because we didn't see them die. And
Right.
if you don't see someone die, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're
Also,
alive.
the show has been so safe this season. They're 100% alive.
Oh, I guess going back on a point we totally looped over. So now we know that Ned knew Robert's rebellion was totally a lie. That's weird. Yeah,
See,
he just...
I'm gonna toot my horn here because a couple seasons ago I brought up this possibility to you guys, and I asked you, what did you think that says about his character? And you guys were like, well, we don't really know, so we still want to just go on loving Ned as we do. But now that we know that this entire storyline could have been avoided if Ned had told everyone the truth,
Is it...
what do you guys think
But
about it?
no, but see, I don't think he could have because I think everyone was already dead at that point. Like, I think Rhaegar was already dead. I think the Mad King was already dead. So, like, I don't see what good it would have done him at this point. And the Mad King did need to be usurped because he was fucking crazy. So, like, I don't think it necessarily speaks negatively to his character because I think that the rebellion had already started and had, like, at that point it was too late to take it back.
Is it? I don't know the timeline.
I mean, the Mad King... I'm pretty sure that the Mad King and Rhaegar were already dead by the time that Jon was born.
I think it's a safe assumption. We'll probably never know for sure. But
That's why we need a Robert's Rebellion show.
But like he still kept it a secret all this time, and it spoke volumes to me too because we were just in that last scene at the Dragon Pit where Jon was incapable of lying once to Cersei to help out everyone around him, and he talks about, well, like, my father was a man of honor and I strive to be like my father and all this, but his father lied when he felt it was for many different people's benefit, but Jon couldn't do the same.
Yeah, maybe.
I just found that kind of an interesting
Well,
correlation.
because I don't
Smarter.
think... yeah,
Jon's an
true.
idiot.
Also, I think he didn't want to risk... Like, I don't think he wanted to break his promise to Lyanna. I think that was more important to him. And I don't, like... For sure, Robert would have killed Jon. Like, no question. So I think it was, like, something that he had to do. And he just, like, didn't have a choice in the matter. I don't think it speaks negatively to his honor. I think, if anything, it speaks very highly of his honor and the fact that he chose to keep his sister's secret all this time, even though it would have benefited Jon to know, like, hey, you're the heir to the throne.
So if Robert... Say Ned had told Robert, hey, Lyanna wasn't kidnapped and raped, she ran off with Rhaegar because she was in love with him. They had this child. You still think Robert wouldn't have hesitated to kill Lyanna's child?
No, I don't. I don't think so because I think he would have... I think for him it was more so the fact that, like, I don't know if maybe he wasn't aware that Rhaegar and Lyanna had just ran away together. I think it was more the fact that he felt, like, betrayed and, like, hurt, and, like, I think, like, it was him taking it out on Rhaegar, whether or not he believed it was true or not. Hold on, I'm trying to formulate a point. I don't think it makes sense right now. I think it was a revenge, not like a, you suck because you kidnapped and raped her. It's like, you suck because you took her away from me. And regardless, that would have still happened.
It just seems a little inconceivable to me that Ned would continue to support and be close friends with someone, knowing that he would definitely do that without hesitation.
I mean, I think that they weren't close friends anymore. I think after the rebellion, they kind of stopped being friends, and that's why things were kind of awkward between them at first, and that's why it took so much convincing to get him to go to King's Landing. Does that make sense?
It does. I don't know. I did enjoy the correlation because we're learning that Ned had known this information that, like, Robert's Rebellion was based on a lie, and he went along with it, but that Jon was unable to do the same, even if it was for the betterment of others.
And I mean, it's not a think. I know it was, but I still think that eventually something like that would have happened because the Mad King was just that shit.
Oh, totally. I agree, and that's probably the most important point, is that the Mad King was just a shitty ruler, but
yes, I don't think Rhaegar had to die in the process.
Like, they killed Rhaegar, they killed the children, they killed Elia Martell. Like, they got everybody, and I'm like, it just, I've always wondered this, and I don't think we'll ever get the answer to that question. Who first said that Rhaegar kidnapped and then raped her? Like, did they just choose to believe the worst about him?
I feel like it was Robert just, like, trying to justify why she left. Like, I feel like, to a certain level, maybe Robert knew, and he just didn't want to believe it.
See, that's kind of what I'm thinking, too. And it's a little bit frustrating, because I don't think we'll ever know the answer to that for sure.
That's why we need a Robert's Rebellion show. I hope that's one of the spin-offs.
There's just so much they could do with it.
Yeah, I agree. I think it needs to happen, but whatever. We'll see what happens. But yeah, it's just interesting to me because it's so clear at this point that Robert was only in love with Lyanna because of the idea he had of her, whereas Rhaegar, at this point, we don't really know if his love was pure or not, but at least at this point, it seems like it was pure.
And we know that Rhaegar was, like, almost the complete opposite of Robert in every way, and it tells me that Robert never really knew Lyanna very well.
I mean, I think even Ned at one point says, like, you didn't know her, you just, like, loved this idea of her. And I think it's just, like, she's this pretty chick who, like, is kind of badass.
And then after she died, you know, he became almost more attached because, like, he couldn't have her anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Robert's Rebellion was all bullshit, but I think it needed to happen in some shape or form, just not to the extent that we saw it. But it'd be great to have a show to prove it.
But back to the wall. Yeah, the Night King got the weapon that he needed to take down the wall in, like, 3 minutes, thanks to
Great
the
job,
mission.
John. Great job. So worth it.
Yeah, you should have listened to us last week.
It wasn't pretty.
No, it was not.
But I will say I felt this was a very satisfying finale overall for after what's been a pretty rocky season. But I still have hope for the final season that some shit will really hit the fan and we'll get a terrific conclusion.
I mean,
yeah, I liked this episode. I think pretty much everything that happened could have been predicted, but it was still very satisfying to see it all happen.
This seemed like the first big episode this season where we had some quality conversation and it wasn't all like bam, 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 moving, like action, stuff's happening.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the scenes between Cersei and her brothers were a good example of the scenes that we would get in past seasons that we sort of lacked this season.
Yeah.
Like good quality character development scenes where they sit down and they have a conversation, and we're not sort of looking at a stopwatch being like, okay, they've talked for 10 minutes, we gotta get to something else. I feel like it was the first time this season we really got some good, well-paced story. And I like this episode a lot this season because of that. And I don't think this season was all that bad. I just think it was very different than what we were used to because of those scenes were so absent this season.
Yeah.
This scene was very much like the bullet points of what needs to happen to get done. And if that's something they're trying to do is move everything along, I think they did a good comprehensive job of that. But we definitely lost something in the process because we're trying to wrap so many things up. So I was glad we got at least a couple of scenes this episode that sort of filled that void.
Yeah, I think it was one of the first times we didn't have, like, really any action. Well, we had some action, but it wasn't, like, any battles or anything, and that's what made it helpful. But yeah. But also it ended in a way where it's like, shit's gonna go down.
Yeah, but I feel like they always end that way. Every season ends in like, ooh, next season, stuff's gonna happen.
I mean, they have to. If they're gonna make us wait a year and a half, then it better be like, oh, fuck.
Yeah. So, my guess is next season we get a bunch of long episodes that are more in line with the first 6 episodes of this season, where it's a lot of doing and not a lot of, like, discussing.
Well, so I read that the episodes are all going to be feature film length. So they're all going to be like this episode, in terms of length at least.
I mean, I'm fine with that, but I'm very much in the camp of I'm not going to believe it till I get an official press release sent to my desk.
To your desk.
I'm sure David and Dan are working on that right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, for the Cast for Crows people, the best Game of Thrones podcast.
I don't know. I feel weird saying this, but I'm very excited for this show to end. Because I feel like we're pushing towards such a conclusion, and we're going at such a fast rate that we need it to happen at this point. And
well, I think I think it's that, and also it's like, if George R. R. Martin doesn't get his shit together, we're running out of source material, and we're gonna have more seasons like this one. Which I personally didn't hate this season, but I know a lot of people weren't fans of it.
Yeah, I didn't hate it. It just felt it felt very different than past seasons.
It felt like two people who clearly have no more source material to go off of.
Right.
Yep.
And that's
right.
That could very
That's
well
what's
be a
happening.
reason they want to speed toward the end.
Right. And
Yeah.
I'm fine with that, but it's one of those things where you kind of know this show is so well crafted in almost all aspects that you don't want to hit that point where you're watching subpar episodes. So if we need to end it and not have any more new episodes, that's fine. Let's wrap the series up in a, put a nice bow on it and say from start to finish, we had good quality episodes all the way through. And I think we're starting to see that point where it's kind of getting a little hazy in some aspects. And, we said this last week, it's still better than 99% of shows that are out there. But comparing it to its past self, I want it to, stay in the same realm of quality. So I'm looking forward to it ending, not only to see what finally happens, hopefully it's everybody dies and it ends terribly, and then second to have it all wrapped up. The shows that need to end, and HBO's
well spoken.
HBO's always done a good job of, I think, of ending shows sooner
When
rather
they
than
need to
later.
end.
So
Yeah. I mean, I don't think we're done with Game of Thrones yet. We have those spin-offs, so I think we'll see this world forever and ever, and you'll just never die, and so it can end this version.
yeah, I'm all for spin-offs because
I'm about it. It's a very expansive universe.
yeah, especially stuff that has source material, like just go nuts.
Yeah, there's so much history to explore.
Don't give me a young Han Solo movie.
So in
Just
other
a
words,
young Ned Stark.
Yeah, I was gonna say young Ned Stark. You don't want that.
I mean, if there's good source material for it, sure.
I mean, I
But you gotta
think any
cast the
good
same.
source
You gotta cast
material
the same guy
would
who's in
be,
the flashbacks.
and yeah, I think the only place we'd get the good enough source material would be Robert's Rebellion. In that case, you need to cast all the same young actors.
Documentary: the first 9 years of Bran Stark's life.
Before he was a cripple.
Terrible. All right, guys. Well, I think that wraps up our discussion of the season 7 finale, The Dragon and the Wolf. We hope you enjoyed the season. We hope you've enjoyed these shows. I think we'll be back soon to discuss like a full season 7 recap. Thank you as always for tuning in, and we will see you next week, and maybe in 2019. Valar Morghulis.
Valar Morghulis, everyone.
The White Walkers.